mainly before 1 in the morning. It'll be mostly cloudy with a low of 63. And then tomorrow, we've got a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. It'll be mostly cloudy. We'll see a high near 82. For KTUI, I'm Mark Perry.
KTUI time is 10:05, and the current temperature is 66 degrees.
I'm Sam Scott for KTUI.
Hey, good morning and welcome back. Here we are live at the White Mule Winery on the high plains of Gasconade County. Hey, I see a cloudy sky out there, and if I look hard enough, there's a few drops of rain on our window, and I would welcome many, many, many more drops. We're kind of in dire need here at the White Mule and in our particular area. And I was actually at Sullivan Monday night, and you all got a good shower of rain Monday, and tried to bring it back this way, but it didn't even make it to Strain, so it stopped before then. But hey, it's good to be for you to be along here this morning on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching or listening on Facebook Live. If so, good to have you aboard here. And it's good for me to be back. I had a couple of weeks off here. I actually didn't go anywhere that far, but we did go to Iowa and visit Karen's sister and brother-in-law, and had a good trip up there, and kind of traveled the state a little bit on the way to and fro. We was only gone about 3 days, week before last, and but learned a lot of stuff. And hey, you baseball fans, Field of Dreams is worth going to. I was very impressed with it, and they've got a big vision put together there, what they're going to do. Of course, the pros played there 2 different years, and they got the field all kind of settled in and done. The bleachers and things are starting to build permanently. They're going to hold about 20 to 30,000, they think. But they had taken all the temporary stuff down. But they're also building other fields around there for kids ball, 7 or 8 diamonds that they're putting together there. They're putting in an RV park, an entertainment area. It'll be a venue kind of a place. A motel is going in, so they're investing a lot of money, and I think it's going to be a success with all the kid clubs and team ball that they're playing, and they might have the national championships there and be able to bring a lot of people in there. So it was very cool. Toured the house, and I guess they were right. If you build it, they will come. And we went, and we would probably take the grandkids back again sometime. Grace?
They would probably love that. I know I would love to see it.
Well, I think we'll wait a few years, and then go and check it out. And I don't know if they're going to have T-ball there or not, but it's
Never know.
probable. Hey, good to have you along here this morning at 71 degrees again here at Airtime, and we have our guest this morning is from Merrimack Regional Planning Commission, Maria Bancock, and she is the loan specialist, business loan specialist from MRPC. And just a little intro. Certainly had people from MRPC on numerous times before, but MRPC is a regional planning commission, which really has a whole host of things that they do for government. I don't know, Maria, there used to be like 8 or 9 counties, is that right?
Yeah, we're 8 counties.
8 counties in it, and I was there for quite a period of years, and actually had the pleasure and the honor of chairing the commission for numerous years. And it is just a great outfit. And some of the things that I remember the most is not only what the staff does for everybody and how good they are handling and being up on the programs that are out there, but just the camaraderie of having to be able to sit down with other heads of government and get mentored by them and learn. Because if you take Central Missouri, Maria, and you look at it, we're much alike.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of respects, and most of the presiding commissioners or mayors have experienced, the same issues that you have, and it's just nice to have that time and collaboration to learn from them.
Absolutely.
And then, it's just amazing how many different programs that there are, and there's really no way other than being in an atmosphere like that new people and even people that's been in politics a while can keep up with all the details of all the government programs and entities that are involved to support people, and they all change with every Congress almost, to some degree.
That's right. We're noticing more of new faces anymore that are going into government, which is nice. A lot of folks that you probably were on the board with are retired or have gone on to do other things. So now we have kind of a new wave of individuals that are wanting to make a difference in the community and get involved, and so we're glad that they're willing to do that.
Absolutely, and it is service. It is making a commitment to public service, and it is a field that right now I think a lot of people are scratching their heads. What public service really is, and but it is a calling to a big degree to try to help people and. I know you got a lot of new faces there, but you have some older ones too.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're chairman. I got to see at a ball game the other day, and we had a great conversation. And actually, she's going to be on the radio here shortly with us again, talking about bourbon and what's all going on over there.
Yeah, we stay really busy. We have a staff of, I think, 34 now.
Wow.
So we're pretty packed at this point. I've been with MRPC. I've been there for 17 years. I'm going on my 18th year. And it's actually, it's nice to see some younger faces in our building because they force us to learn different ways of doing things. We get stuck in this environment and we're always doing kind of what we've been used to, and having those different ideas come into our building and different ways of thinking, it's refreshing. It's challenging for us who have been there a long time because we just have been kind of doing same things every day, but we're really diversified in our staff, and I think it's definitely showed in our performance and how we're able to serve our communities because of that.
And those are, I think, some of the positive aspects of things like term limits and those things. Get some new ideas. I was a product of term limit, in the House of Representatives, and brought, I think, some new ideas to the table. Definitely changed my ideas to some degree after you learn about it. But we need to keep up, and we need the older people there, people with experience too, because they provide institutional knowledge that is really, really key, and that's. When I was talking about collaborating with other commissioners, that's the part that, that wisdom that's there, and that understanding of governance, of how that works and what may work and what may not. But, you are in the business loan aspect. Got to be one of the bigger, most visual things, I think, that you do, because you involve not only the entire commission and you have your own board, set up, but you can, the commission can bring people to you, to the board, to look at new entrepreneurs and new startups, which, wow, you talk about needing support at all levels. That's where rubber meets the road.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, we're in rural Missouri, so our focus is to be able to help as many businesses in our 8-county region as possible, whether that's, answering a question that might have about, the SBA program, or even trying to look for financing and help them match with what their needs are. But we're in a really nice place because we see what we're doing right there in person. We see the businesses that we're helping, they're across the street, or, they're
Down the
involved
road
in-
to the White Mule.
Yeah, exactly. So we see them and we are up close and personal. And so we want to keep that relationship with those businesses and be able to see them grow and prosper. So our programs have been around for over 35 years. And, we've helped many businesses, but right now, the way the economy's been, businesses need our support more than ever.
Absolutely.
We noticed that when the SBA brought a lot of these programs out because of COVID, we noticed that there were a lot of businesses that, first were hesitant to say, oh, am I really going to get this money for free? Is it really, I don't have to pay it back? So we had some hesitancy there. But once they noticed that people were getting the funding and it was forgiven, I think it kind of opened their eyes and say, okay, this is actual help for us to get through this wave of, the unknown, honestly, at that point. So we had also a lot of banks that were, trying to kind of get up to speed with the processes with SBA. And so we were helping them try to get acclimated with what, the SBA is involved with and what they have to do to get, for example, the Paycheck Protection, which was a huge help to many businesses in the area. And so we were able to help not only the borrowers or our small businesses, but also the banks that were needing some of that assistance as well, because businesses were calling banks and needing money ASAP. There was no way to just go through a month or 2 months of a process. These businesses needed the capital so that they
Absolutely.
can keep their staff. That was the main goal at that point.
And we're an example of all of that. The hospitality industry was absolutely devastated by COVID across the board. When you got to close your doors, because of a pandemic, and there's not really a lot of other avenues that, if you're leveraged or what you can do, to make those obligations, and retraining and, closing the doors, getting back open is just a nightmare. It's just a situation that if you can avoid it, you have to. And the bigger picture of that is, and people know that I'm a conservative, but where our budget is today, we have to do some things, but we need to realize to some degree what the federal government, why we are at what we are at, and if in fact, for whatever the reasons, if in fact everything was truly closed down, during COVID, and there was no money put out to these businesses for a lot of these obligations that we got to pay for, we would have been I think America would have been in a lot worse shape, without it. Because I mean, you look across the board, the airline industries, the hospitality industries, all those, the food industry, everything would have been so impacted. It would have been chaotic, and getting it back on board just don't happen. We've been working 12 years, to kind of work our model through. So we have to take those things into consideration and know that why we are where we are to some degree.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And you've been a great help with us. And, when we started there, had this pipe dream, and either MRPC or send us to, the people through Rala, S&T now, and helped us put that vision on paper, put together a business plan, put together a financial plan, and put numbers to it, and then allowed us to, be able to go to the bank, you know what I'm saying, with these things and say, here we go. And it has helped us, along that journey very, very much. And, I'm not sure we're successful, but I'm glad we are where we are, you know what I'm saying? And we are. We're very blessed and fortunate to be where we are. And an awful lot of that comes through the SBA, through, your contacts and regional planning and just understanding of where we are.
Yeah, we, and I remember, it doesn't seem like it's been 12 years.
It doesn't.
But I remember, it was, one building, and then it expanded and it just grew and it got bigger, and now you're here. And that's just living proof of all the resources that are available in our area to make those things happen. So.
And, my sister and my son, were in the banking business, and both of them served on your regional board here to help collaborate with the government and local banks to help people, to get them started and get them leveraged and, or help them get leverage for them to start their businesses. And where would we be without entrepreneurs? And where would we be without, new people getting started? Because, Maria, I mean, you could put a business plan together and it'd last for 20, 30 years. Now it don't last for 20 or 30 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could start with a plan, and then it may just change within a few months or a few years, and you're starting a new business, market, you're marketing it to a different group, or you're trying to add on to what you've already got established. Many different scenarios, but I tell folks that, your business plan is kind of your birth certificate for your business when you first get started. You're going through all the details, and I tell them up front, don't expect this is a living document, so it means it's going to change over time. And so that, we kind of guide them in that direction, and to always refer back to that business plan at some point and just kind of see what was originally, the plan and what things have changed since then, so that you can kind of prepare as much as you can in advance.
And to share this with you and the audience too, I mean, we are to that point where it's really time to go back to that original plan, and we're on target, you know what I'm saying, precisely, probably more successful than we thought we were going to be, but it's time to rehash. It's time to relook at where we are, from a business standpoint, and,
Almost going back to basics.
Going back to basics. We got enough grapes in. Are we marketing correctly? Some things are pretty obvious, but other things you got to get into the numbers, and you can't manage what you can't know in regard to numbers. And
yeah. And there are a lot of businesses that we notice that are spread thin because they're trying to do their books, they're trying to execute
we're not spread thin here.
Well, they're trying to do everything, and they don't really focus on what they're good at. Most people they have a niche, that's their business, they know it inside and out, but they're also trying to do their bookkeeping or their entries, and having that additional assistance with a CPA or an accountant is huge, because it relieves that burden of taking care of that piece, so you can focus on the bigger picture, on increasing revenues so that you can be profitable and build your equity. So we've noticed that, and CPAs they're busy anyway during tax season, and more so now with all the government funding, and they're having to make sure everything is accounted for, and so but having that investment with an accountant so that you can concentrate on the ins and outs of your business that best is you will reap the rewards in a very short amount of time by doing that.
And I know this firsthand also, that it takes a long time to even get yourself to a position where you have QuickBooks, where you have the elements you need, to be able to communicate in a proper manner with CPAs and with accountants. And it takes a certain business savvy to be able to get there.
Right.
Now there are a lot easier tools,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
than when you started. You don't have to columnize a lot of this. I mean, you got Square and whatever else that does it. We got POS here that tells you every day.
Absolutely.
But you still got to learn how to manage that, and you got to know that. And the big thing is, the big thing is you got to be able to find the people
Yep.
that are passionate about what you need and understanding how to do things, because there's a lot out there.
There's a lot. You have to be patient. In fact,
Patient.
this is going to sound kind of boring, but there's always these emails where you can get updates and stuff. Well, I get the ones from the IRS. And and every once in a while, there's some good information that comes my way. And when you're talking about accountants and CPAs and businesses that provide that kind of service, the IRS website is actually very informative. In fact, it will give you like a list of certified public accountants that are, and what things to look for in an accountant to make sure you have the right person that's helping you with your business. I know most people don't like even hearing the IRS, they cringe, but they have a really good website that has even some YouTube videos on how to track your expenses, what things to look for, and also how to find the right tax accountant to make sure that you've got someone that you can rely on and can do the things that you need to do for your business to help manage your business better.
And that communication with somebody that understands the numbers, because really, that's all there is. You got to know your numbers to be able to improve. And I'm not, I can do it, but you kind of go past that point to some degree, and you got to get back there and watch those numbers, but you can make more opportunity sitting at the desk and learning them than you can do anything else. But you also need somebody personally that you can communicate to about your business.
Yeah.
That's the key, and they can tell you about your strengths and your weaknesses.
Right.
But that's central in planning.
Yeah.
Finding those persons or that team that can help you. Say, Charlie, you need to do this, or look at this.
Or
what I'm
consider
saying?
this at least.
Well, no.
Or look.
Do this, dang it. You know better.
So I have no options. No, you're
No.
right. You're right. You're right.
And that's the thing, and it's so hard for business people to open up.
It
to
is
show
very hard.
to show your faults, to show your strengths. It's hard to say, what sometimes, because it's,
And we're all human. We make mistakes. I mean, that's.
Well, our whole family does, except.
I mean, we all make mistakes, but to be real about what you're dealing with to solve that problem is huge.
Yeah, and it can all be worked out.
It can all be worked out.
It can all be worked out, and there are the resources out there to help you. It's not rocket science, even though, growing grapes and growing cows and finishing the wine and, putting steaks on the table and doing, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
But there is people there that can help do that. And that's what you're about.
That's what we're about. And the thing is that if someone else also has done it too in the past, it's not just the first time they've done it. So there's people that can relate to it. But with businesses here in the region, we want to focus on the big picture, which is creating and retaining jobs, and any more to retain our businesses in the area, because we've seen businesses that have closed. We've seen businesses, and I'm sure you've seen this even in very small communities where they're restricting their hours because they don't have enough staffing, so they're trying to minimize that overhead to try to keep their doors open. And so we want to look and help those businesses as well through our loan programs. And we have several success stories. One of the biggest success stories, I think, is Herman Wursthouse. We helped them
goodness, yes.
when they first started. And I remember Mike and Lynette, they were trying to get ready for Oktoberfest. And so they were determined that they were going to work night and day and be open for Oktoberfest. And October 1st was their opening day, and they made it happen. And so the rest is history. Now they've grown, and now they have a new location in Fulton, and, you know, the rest is history. And that's a perfect example of a business that's starting.
And that's hard work.
Very hard work, yeah.
I know Mike, and
Yep.
I mean, they're there always. They're always there for the customer. They
Yep.
always, and that requires a big effort.
Yeah, they, sacrificed a lot to get to where they are today, and that's the thing. You have to be willing to sacrifice things in order to get to point B. It's not going to happen overnight, and that one business did benefit from our loan programs, and we used the SBA 504. For their real estate, and then we also we have our revolving loan fund, which was used for working capital and equipment, and those two programs are great tools for anyone that is looking to finance. Either they need working capital, which that's the big one right now. Many banks are not giving working capital loans.
And that's huge, with any kind of a business, but being able to have access to that
Yeah.
is a very difficult. Well, you can't do business without money.
You can't. No.
And a lot of this might be just short term, kind of situations, but it's all important. But our area has so many cell resources, out there. And, there's a lot you can do, but an awful lot because of our resources that we have, a lot of the startup businesses are around agritourism, agriculture to a big degree, businesses in the hospitality area. Not that we don't make widgets, and, thank goodness that we do, but it seems to me like most entrepreneurs here, or an awful lot of them, are wrapped around tourism, agriculture,
Yes.
those particular factors here to get started. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. In fact, I was visiting with a client yesterday in Webb City. Do you know where Webb City's at?
Of course I know
Okay.
where Webb City's at.
I almost made it to Oklahoma, but not quite. I was on the edge there, but
That's way down.
Yeah, went to Webb City, and these folks were from Kansas City. And they said, where are you located? And I said, well, we're located at St. James. And immediately the first thing he said was, isn't that where all the wineries are at? And I said, yes. So, yes, people relate to Missouri with being
Yes.
agricultural, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the heart of it, and I think that's where our strengths are, because tourism, and Herman has an awful lot, and but Herman and some of these German towns and St. James winery. I mean, when you got 70,000 people going in front of your door every day, it's different than living on Highway 50.
Right.
Where you have to absolutely attract them to come, and Herman has did a great job, as Washington, you know what I'm saying, and our entire region of being able to model businesses, because I think we're hospitable.
Yeah.
The whole area is you know, people like it here. They like the rural atmosphere.
Yeah.
They like the culture that we grew up with, and they just like the old way of doing a lot of things and like that nostalgia.
Yep.
That's what some of our assets that are there that nobody else has.
That's right. We want to preserve that too. That's the big thing. We want to preserve it because those things could easily fall off the radar if we don't preserve those things and be able to be patrons of those businesses. You know, you say ag, we also have antique shops. You know, that's huge. You know, we have so many different things that people can just, you know, spend days just coming in our region and staying in our region.
You look at Rosebud, you talked about antique
yeah.
shop, and I don't know if there's, you know, what the ratio of entrepreneurs versus population is, but I'd say Rosebud got to be close to the winner in a global situation, because you think of how many businesses they are in a community of 350.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal
Yeah.
how many and how much they've got going on there, and how busy that
The
town
traffic,
is.
yeah.
And now we got a RV park, you know, if you
Yeah.
drive past that today, you'll see 50, 70 campers in it, you know. I mean, part of that's because of workers, you know, here, but it kind of gives you an inkling of what it can be, because people love that part of our whole geographic area.
You talk about RVs. RVs, the industry is just booming like crazy. You know, we've got quite a few on I-44, but their occupancies are very high. People are investing in these RVs and wanting to be able to travel wherever they want to go and be able to stop and enjoy the comforts at home and their own RV, but that is becoming a booming industry right now.
Huge. We got, I don't know if there was any last night, but we got this Harvest Host.
Really?
You know?
Oh, good.
Yes, where they
good.
come here and, you know, they spend the night. They just park in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because we don't have hookups. But then, you know, they come in and you know, they patronize us.
Nice.
And, you know, come on the weekends and, you know, they buy cases of wine or whatever in lieu of, you know, a hookup charge. And it's a very successful program, you know, for them. And they all communicate. They say, oh, go this, or
Oh,
go
yeah,
to the White Mule
yeah,
on Friday
yeah.
night or Saturday, you know, or eat their fried chicken on
That's-
Sunday or
yeah.
whatever, and try the blackout wine or the mules, you know, and they communicate,
Yeah.
you know, in that.
Huge network. Huge network.
Is that what it
there.
is?
It's a net. I mean,
It's everything,
It
yeah.
spreads, you know, and that's all you need is, you know, you got a small group that has a great experience, and they're going to tell as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So we may see a RV park built here soon, don't you think?
Well, you know, we tried it.
Did you?
We started, 2 years ago, and we had the contractors in, you know, and we had it all planned out and had our sewer and water and all the plan. We started digging, actually, and it was kind of over the hill here
Okay.
below the vineyard, because we wanted to keep the view shed nice up here, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, for weddings and those things. So this was going to be accessible, you know,
And
to
more
here,
private
but
for-
more private, and you know, so you could kind of do whatever. And we start digging there, and it was like an artesian. There must be a big flat rock underneath our vineyard
Oh,
here,
okay.
you know, and all the water was going down there. So you know, it was just, it would have cut. We only was going to put in 20, you know, or so, just enough for weddings and those kind of things. But it didn't work, you know. So, you know, we just kind of filled the ruts back up and, you know, we, you know, went on without it. And I'm not sure that, you know, there's other places on the property we've got, you know,
To
but
do
we
that.
had that one all set up, you know, but even 5 hookups, you know what I'm saying, or 8 or whatever would be good
Yeah.
for weddings and those
Absolutely.
kind of things. You know, so if Gracie wants to, that still, we got a vineyard out here that ain't doing so good, Gracie, so, you know, whatever. But mostly all the vineyards is doing good except the Chardonnay, my favorite wine.
Is that?
Well, no, Narton is, or Muleside. I got a lot of favorites, but my favorite white. that statewide has crown gall in it, and you can't even find the plants to replant, so.
Oh, wow.
It's just, whatever, so.
Yeah.
Getting off of, business loans and business loan
loans.
programs.
Yep.
But, everybody wants grants. There's a very limited, I mean, during COVID there was some, obviously, or whatever you want to call them, but grants are highly, highly competitive. So you really need somebody that's an expertise in being able to articulate your vision. Are
Yep.
you having a vision that is detailed in regard to how you're going to do it, what you're going to do it, because you're competing for a very limited amount of dollars with a whole lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. So if you recall back in November, the state received some ARPA funds, and they appropriated $10 million specifically for small business grants. And they kicked that off in November, and businesses could apply for that grant online, and they could receive up to $25,000. They would have to show that in 2019 and in 2021. Those 2 years, they had lost of revenue of at least the $25,000 to be eligible. And that was a grant that we had quite a few calls come in to get some help on what would be required, what information they need, and that was obligated very quick. It didn't even make it at the end of the month, so that was kind of the last grant for businesses that could actually get capital in their hands and use it for operating expenses. Grants in general, you have to have a impact, a big scope to show how it's going to benefit a community. So we do get the questions all the time, is there a grant that I can get so I can start a, gas station? Well, no, there isn't.
Right.
That's different. Are there grants for me to start my own farm? Yeah, there might be some grants
Sure.
for that, And right now, the state has a couple different options. They have one for childcare. Childcare has become a huge problem in
Sure.
our country, especially in our area. Very hard to
Our
come
family
by.
too.
Are you?
We can hire one person probably.
I think you should create a Schlottic app so that all the grandparents can schedule or switch what days you have the kids, don't you think?
Maria, you got to take that up with the higher ladder than I am. You got to go to the boss. You know what she tells Charlie? No more Chucky.
Most people are not, they don't have those luxuries and having their parents close by to be able to do that. Most of them rely on babysitters or daycare, and daycare is becoming more and more of an issue. And there is a grant program out now for daycares, those that want to start one or need assistance with being able to have more kids in their center, whatever the case may be. And that's something that the state's funding also. That's a new one. And then the entertainment industry right now, there is a grant program through the state for entertainment industries that they realize that the tourism needs to be invested more, and so they have this pot of money that they have for those entertainment type businesses that need the assistance. So there's a couple grants that are specific to industry, but in general, you can't apply for a grant and fund something that is, a private business that is just
Right.
going to make money. And
like I said, they're extremely competitive.
And very competitive,
Very
yeah.
competitive, and you're going to need some very professional help. But you also have to have an awful lot of patience
Yeah.
in regard to do that, because you're going to go through this process to write a grant that is going to be very labor intensive. You're going to have to define very accurately, to your best ability what it is. So somebody's got to go through this process that is not easy. to look at all your resources, to figure, labor, to put numbers on paper, and you'll you'll know you did it, right? when you get it done, you'll know that you have, or before you apply, you'll know that you went through a lot to get that on paper, where it could or may not have success.
We have we have two people in our staff, Kelly Sink and Nicole
Yes.
Zilke.
Kelly's been there a few years.
Yeah, she's been there a long
Don't
time.
tell her that, because
But they are our two grant experts as far as I'm concerned. Anything grant related, that's who we rely on. And they're very knowledgeable with what's out there. They communicate that, and they'll know to the minute what is available and what's not, and for what different purposes, the grant funds are for. And they're two excellent resources, and they're always available to answer any questions, especially those that are wanting to pursue a grant or apply for a grant. They're our experts, and we're very lucky to have them because they know that inside and out. They've been doing it a long time.
So an awful lot of businesses applied, and a lot of those businesses that I know got the Paycheck Protection
Yes.
program through COVID. There are other elements of that. There are other waves of that people may or may not qualify, for extra, particular situation. But I read through them, but there's a lot of givens in them rules, that are going to apply, including, your income and, how much, this actually has cost, and it's more competitive, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
there are resources out there yet.
Yeah, there are resources. Our programs, I would say, are the next best resource to conventional financing. I will say the economic injury disaster loan was very important because there was a lot of money appropriated to this, and many businesses received loans for 30 years. It was a very low interest, long-term loan program, and what they've realized now is there's some businesses that still, repayment started back in September, so most of those businesses are starting to repay on that loan because it was deferred for 2 years, 2+ years. So they've realized that some of those businesses are still struggling and need some temporary relief. So right now with the EIDL, they have a hardship. They can apply for a temporary hardship where they can reduce their loan payment by 10%. So it would have to be at least 10% of what their regular loan payment is, and so they can get that hardship for 6 months, and SBA will work with them to try to help them kind of reduce that debt for a short period of time so that they can kind of stabilize as much as they can. And that just came out recently, and I sense that there are businesses that just can't repay as much as they thought they could. And a lot of money was given to businesses through that program. But, the deferment only lasts so long.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
But,
And the things, the business cycle, the business cycle, not in regard to the economy necessarily, but the business cycle in regard to a local business or small business has shortened up so much that it changes so drastically over such a short period of time anymore that it takes a lot to stay on top of it.
yeah.
So let's go back to the start here. Let's just say quickly, kind of, so I'm interested in starting a new business. Do I go to my banker or I go to you?
So if you're starting a new business, I think calling us is probably the first step.
Okay.
Because the first question I'm going to ask is, do you have a business plan? And many people say,
What's that?
I don't know what that is. What do I do? How do I go about it? And so we will guide them and tell them, what information is required of a business plan, but we will also take it a step further and refer them to the Small Business Development Center, which is our closest office is in Rolla, across from the hospital, and they actually receive funding through SBA to provide free technical assistance to either new or existing businesses, and can help put a business plan together or help them with tools that they need to put that together. Then once they have completed a business plan, then we review it and we have a discussion and say, okay, what do you need? How much do you need? How much do you think it's going to take for you to repay on this new debt that you're going to take on? And then we look at our programs and try to match up which is the best option. But first and foremost, once they have that business plan done, we tell them to start looking at lenders that they want to work with. We always tell them to start with their home bank, the bank that
Sure.
already knows what they're bringing
Right.
in, what they're paying out, and they've already established a relationship with, and approach them for a small business loan. If, the small business goes to their bank and their bank just is not comfortable because of the risk, then that's where we kind of get involved and say, okay, would you partner with Merrimack Regional Planning Commission to provide that piece, that gap financing through one of our programs? So we still actually have a bank involved because we want the banks to still invest in the business.
Sure.
Okay, they still need to
Local,
put, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's local buy-in, that's local
Yeah.
accountability.
Exactly.
That's local understanding.
they still have
all
to
of
be
the above.
involved. And so as long as, if we kind of tag team, we go to the bank and say, would you finance 50%? And if the bank says, 50%, we're willing to take that risk, then we would match it with one of our programs, and then the borrower can get that financing in two parts. They would have a bank loan, and then they would have a loan through Merrimack Regional Planning Commission. And so it allows them to get the financing they need. Couple benefits is they don't have to put as much down. Usually it's between 10 or 20 on the high end, but most of them will put 10% down. It gives them the fixed rate financing that they need through our program. They can always refinance.
Phenomenally
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, fixed
You know,
rate.
you look today at the environment and, 5 or 6 times now you've seen interest rates being jacked up by the
Yeah.
feds. And, there was a time when, a few years back, you could get 3%, 4% money
Yeah.
for 20 or 30, 15 years or whatever. Not
Now,
so
8
today.
yeah.
It's probably added, to 7% or 8%.
It's 8%, right? Prime is at 8, possibly more, yeah.
You'd think of that. You think of that 5% on,
Yeah.
whatever it's huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And even though they have a bank involved, they can always refinance their bank loans. So they're not committed to staying with the bank. So after 2 or 3 years, hopefully the bank's going to come back and say, you've been a faithful borrower, you've been doing well, you've been paying on your debt, so we're going to help you with your rate, once it's, time to adjust that rate. But our rate would be fixed for the term, which is more important now than ever because now rates are going up, the cost of money is going up, so we want to keep that as low as possible. And then, and then we stay in close contact with the borrower until they have the loan paid off, and make sure they're doing well. Is that rain? There's your rain.
There
is
we
your
almost
rain.
gotta take a break and say, hey! And we're gonna.
That rain dance you did really worked, didn't it?
You brought it up from Rolla.
Did I?
Yeah, you guys been living right. So we are going to take a little break here on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or Facebook Live. And let Grace tell us what else is going on in our neck of the woods this weekend. We know that one thing, the most important thing on the list,
Do not forget
what was it?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Exactly. I'm sure our cooks will not forget here
They will
because
not
they,
Yeah, they put in hard work on Mother's Day.
I know they do.
But I
And
just
every
gotta-
other day, but
Yes, have a few things here. There's a memorial UTV ride for Chief Griffith Saturday, May 13th, starting at 10 a.m. at the Rosebud Park. They will have barbecue music, 50-50 raffle, a dunk booth, bounce houses, and a beer garden. I know the ride does plan on stopping here sometime during the day on Saturday, but all fundraiser proceeds will go to the Griffith and Sullivan families. So that's in Rosebud this coming Saturday.
And we still mourn about the loss of, you know, the Griffin. And, you know, I understand the Sullivan is doing better. You know, I haven't seen anything this week, but I talked with Mr. Kreftmeyer, who's doing a benefit for them through law enforcement. And he said that he had made remarkable progress thus far
Oh,
since
that's
he'd been
wonderful.
in Colorado. So I don't know where it is, but I know that the law enforcement people themselves are taking him within their arms and helping out. And that's what great communities are all about, right, Maria?
That's what Missouri's all about, I think.
That's
Missouri,
why we live where we live.
Yeah.
And other communities do the same. But we happen to know that we're very good at it,
Yeah.
you know, and we're very blessed because of it.
That's right.
This hour has went by
Thank you for letting me visit
You're
with
coming
you.
back.
Okay.
because I have
Thank you.
so much more, you know, to talk about here, because we need to get into, you know, a lot more of our area, a lot, you know, a lot of what's available to them in regard to resources, but really what naturally we have to offer, and it's huge, because we're bringing so many people in our area that love what we do. So if there's any creativity in people, the best opportunity to get in business, I think, is through one of those things that we talked about.
Absolutely.
To serve people and, you know.
Well, we love to help businesses and communicate as much as we can to let people know that we're here to help.
And I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Woody appreciates you.
We appreciate Woody and Kathy.
And
They
Kathy.
they are both great, and they volunteer their time to our board, and we're very grateful to have them.
Thank you very much. And
Thanks,
tell my
Charlie.
friends, you know, at MRPC that I appreciate them.
I will.
I think very highly of everyone that I've ever worked with
Thank you.
there. And much success. And Bonnie is always doing a great job.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? She's a sustainable resource, as you all are,
Yeah.
you know, to our area. And we appreciate you.
Thank you.
So, what else you got, Grace?
Just want to throw out there, Mother's Day is Sunday. If you have not made your reservations yet for the White Mule, please do so. We're getting pretty full until the later hours, but all moms will get one free drink, and then we're serving our fried chicken and roast beef from 11 until 3:30. Dave Benson will be here in the pavilion playing music.
So, you can come Friday night maybe, or Saturday
Friday
night
night,
too, if you
Saturday
want to, you know, celebrate with a
Early.
different, you know, menu or whatever. So, steaks on both of those nights, or hamburger pizza on Saturday, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So, Maria, thank you again, and we'll have you back.
Thank you,
And
Charlie. We look forward to it.
we'll keep this conversation going. 'Cause,
Absolutely.
God bless you, and great to be with you this morning again. Who we got next week? Yes,
That's a look.
we'll be back next week.
We will be back.
We'll be back next week, and it just started raining pretty decently here. Well, we hope that it continues. Even though the hay baler's sitting out there ready to go, we need the rain first.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Department of Mental Health.
Apply today at dmh.mo.gov for meaningful work, increased pay, and great benefits.
Not everyone recognizes that they might have a gambling problem.